The last example I'd like to show you is how to do dynamic loading of media within the players. Often when you're working with these elements, you'll have the need in order to programmatically load media within the players for maybe ad insertions or things of that nature. So the way this example works is after the first video is done playing, it will automatically load in the second video. So if I come over here and press play, it's about 5 seconds long. As soon as this video is finished, it loads in video 2, begins playing that, and once video 2 is done playing, then it simply stops. So the key to remember for implementing a solution like this is that the media elements often will have 3 different sources that you need to account for that are loaded within the player. So let's take a look at the code. When we look at the markup, again, the markup's very, very basic. I've declared a video element on the page, and then I have some custom attributes that tell me the names of the files that I'm looking at. So video 1 here maps to video 1, and then I'll be loading in video 2 MP4, video 2 OGV, and video 2 WebM as well. I've given it an ID and then also controls. But for the most part, the markup here is pretty basic and shouldn't provide you any problems. The script here again uses jQuery, and all I'm doing is using it for selection and the page ready event. So the first thing I'm doing here is showing you the different way that you can do it, of doing get element by ID off the document. So once again, this gives me an instance to the raw DOM element of the video player that's on the page. Then I can add an event listener to the video element and say that I want this to fire when the video has ended. So with the first pass, what will happen is the first video will play and then end, and then I'll look at this logic in order to load in the second video. So the first thing that I need to do is get the sources of the video element. I need to get access to the 3 sources that are found within the video. And this is important because if you don't account for the sources, that you won't be able to serve up the appropriate video format depending on the browser that your user is using in order to look at your page. And then what I'm doing is just a simple search and replace. I'm taking the old file name and replacing that with a new file name. And so I'm just grabbing that information out of one of the attributes from the video element, and that's pretty easy. So the first piece of business to attend to is to take a look at the sources and make sure that I'm dealing with the old file name, because I really only want this logic to fire if I'm dealing with the first file in the series. So I'm looking to see if the new file name, if that index equals -1. And so if the index for the new file name equals -1, then it's not in the string and I can move on. There's obviously a lot of different ways that you can handle something like this, but I just thought I'd keep it basic for the demo here. The key though, what I need to do is loop through the sources that are found within the element. So I have a for loop here that goes through the sources, and I'm just doing a simple replace. So I'm taking the old file name and I'm replacing it with a new file name. Now what you can't just do is replace video 1 MP4 for video 2 MP4. When this is being served through the browser and through a web server, what will be returned within these sources is the fully qualified path, including the HTTP protocol. So that's why I'm grabbing the source out and I'm just replacing old file name with new file name, because then I'll get the rest of the fully qualified path still intact. So after those replacements have been made, then the other thing that's required is that I can't simply go to the video and tell it to play. I have to tell the media element to then load that media into the player. Once it's loaded, then I can say video.play, and then I have a dynamic load within my media element.